Montreux is committed to providing a new context for the transformation of healthcare. This restructuring of medicine will enhance the capacity of each human for lifelong learning, wonder, creativity and well-being. Montreux is assisted by an international board of health professionals. A new approach to healthcare is possible when we recognize that a new story is needed for medicine, which includes the best of the scientific and sacred traditions during the last 200,000 years. This new story or meta-story is best explained in 3 parts. Part 1 is the story of our universe and the mystery of the fireball. We are on the planet Earth, 8 light minutes from the Sun. Our solar system resides in the Milky Way galaxy, which is only one of the 1 trillion galaxies in the universe. Beyond these roaring thermonuclear reactions, some murmurs, microwaves, which are echoes of the greatest cataclysmic explosion of all, the Big Bang of creation, some 15 billion years ago. Part 2 is the story of our Earth and the wonder of life. The oldest rocks are about 4.5 billion years old. Somewhere in the seas a long time ago, life was born. Part 3 is the very recent story of the human and the evolution and integration of consciousness. About 5 million years ago, the first pre-humans inhabited the Earth. We will describe the development of 5 distinct structures of consciousness, which is the essence of the meta-story, and holds the key to the fundamental restructuring of healthcare in the years ahead. If America is to remain competitive in an increasingly global economy, it is imperative that the skyrocketing health costs be brought under control. This can be achieved by looking at 4 areas. 1. Quality medical care and medical outcomes. 2. Comprehensive health promotion and disease prevention. 3. Managed healthcare systems. And most importantly, 4. By providing a new context for health through the telecomputer. To understand the importance of the new context, we need to gain an insight into how health and disease are generated and how the pattern of disease has changed over the past century. Looking at the 2 tables, we can see how most disease in the early 1900s was due to infections, and thus the biomedical model emerged to explain this. However, today, most afflictions are diseases of civilization or lifestyle, with the result that we have seen the development of the wellness model in the last 30 years. Whereas biomedicine and wellness medicine are concerned with the more obvious external, explicate patterns of health and disease, the new context moves to examine the deeper reasons and meanings behind these patterns, implicate. This new integral medicine is best explained using the iceberg metaphor. A person's current pattern of health or disease is analogous to the tip of an iceberg. This is where most of medicine and managed health care goes on today. Recently, we have realized that more than 70% of all disease is related to lifestyle. This is why comprehensive health promotion and wellness programs have begun to be implemented. To understand all that supports a person's current state of health and disease, you need to look into the deeper reality that creates the culture and belief systems. Integral medicine includes not only the biomedical and wellness models, explicate domain, but also looks how belief systems, culture, meaning and spirit influence these lifestyle choices. The central perception then for Montreux is of mind as an evolving guidance system for each person and for humanity as a whole. This view is supported by multiple strands of consistency that are now emerging between fields as diverse as macroevolution theory, non-equilibrium thermodynamics, complex dynamical systems, learning and cultural transformational theory, and the study of patterns of development in history. Health, then, in this new context, can be defined as both an expansion of consciousness, knowledge, and an intensification of consciousness, wisdom. What follows is a brief historical view of the evolution of these 5 distinct structures of consciousness. For the first time in the history of humankind, our consciousness allows for the integration of all previous, co-present structures. Through this act of remembering, with the help of the telecomputer, an integration occurs which allows the human personality to become, as it were, transparent to itself, so that the origin of our belief systems, culture, and the spiritual are directly perceived. The archaic, 5 million to 200,000 BC. Early man advanced beyond all prior evolutionary stages, matter, plant, and animal, is still embedded in the world around him. A participation mystique prevails. For this dawn man, there is no space and no time. He is undifferentiated and has no sense of self. This man is at peace, innocent, without mental reflection and existential fears. The sense that most predominates, besides smell, is the body kinesthetic sense, visible in the upright posture and tool-making of early man. These nomadic hunters probably began controlling fire about 1.4 million years ago. The magical, 200,000 to 10,000 BC. "45,000 years ago, humans inhabited most of Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. The American Indian and the Kalahari Bushman are example of this magical structure. These hunter-gatherers are still without space and time and advanced language. Mime, ritual, and play characterize this human. There is a strong sense of kinship with animals, plants, and trees. Totemism and action at a distance, the essence of magic, are the hallmarks of this structure. The ear is the predominant sense organ, with dance the expressive language of this magical human. The mythical, 10,000 to 2,500 BC. About 10,000 years ago, people began settling in permanent villages because of two important developments, language and farming. Still spaceless, this mythical realm is governed by natural tempos and cycles of time. A we membership prevails. Myth governs the collective mind, and this egoless human lives in a dream state. The mouth is the predominant organ in this structure. The primary mythic symbol was at first the goddess. This gradually was replaced by a more patriarchal orientation when the first four civilizations were formed. An example of the magical mythical structure bumping up against the mental structure soon to be discussed is beautifully shown in this clip from The Black Robe.
Black Robe, what you do?
Making words.
Words? You not speak.
I will show you. Tell me something.
Tell what?
Something I do not know.
My woman's mother died in snow last winter.
Wow, your mama Chidu.
Wabima, Bachi, Ashton.
Hey, Ashton, Kiwabima, Black Robe.
Last winter, Shamina's wife's mother died in the snow.
Matausio. Matausio.
Yimamachidu.
I have still other greater things that I can teach you.
What you been doing, Jin?
The mental structure. Part 1, the early mental structure, is between 2500 BC and 1500 AD. First in Egypt and Mesopotamia, people were to live in a more dynamic world, where their capacity to survive was challenged not by the forces of nature, but by human forces, by tensions and conflicts arising either within society or as the result of competition between society. These efforts to cope with human environment have proved a far greater challenge than the earlier struggle with nature. With Moses' exodus from Egypt thought to be about 1250 BC, and Israel in Revelation, a new leap in being occurred for humankind. Religion from this time is to be historical rather than mythologically based. It describes human existence moving on relentlessly to the achievement of a special destiny. This linear time sets the monotheistic covenant apart from all native-based polytheisms of other people. Religion will become the major driving force in Western culture for the next 3,000 years.
written with the finger of God.
Whereas the Jews discover religion, the Greeks discover the human mind and invent civilization's first abstract art form, writing. Anytime a new medium of communication is introduced, a giant step occurs in the historical record. The repeated use of the alphabet reinforced three aspects of this medium: abstraction, linearity, and continuity. Part 2 of the mental structure dates from 1500 AD to the present time. Giotto was the first artist of record to understand intuitively the benefits of painting a scene as if it were viewed from a stationary point. As a result, the flat picture writing that had been the style for 1,000 years acquired the third dimension of depth. In a letter written about the same time by Petrarch, we have the first literal account of the awareness of space that results in a fundamental alteration of European man's attitude towards the world. But it was Filippo Brunelleschi who really discovers Western linear perspective proper. The eye is the sense organ of this mental structure. In 1455, Johann Gutenberg's invention of movable type reinforced the primacy and linearity of the written word. It was the diffusion of books that split the landmass of the church into an archipelago of individual thinkers. In 1503, Leonardo painted his most famous portrait, the Mona Lisa, and developed aerial perspective. Contrast this to Ghirlandaio's painting of compactness, and note how the quality of light and dark give the Mona Lisa a sense of openness. The development of this perspective is what made technical drafting in the industrial age possible. While Leonardo showed us how to see the world, Newton's Principia Mathematica in 1687 showed us how to think the world. Classical mechanics addressed this objective reality and reigned supreme until 1900. 1725 is the actual date when science is thought to have replaced religion as the predominant force in Western culture. Modern humanity has not only now a strong notion of linear abstract time, but having mastered perspective and by conquering space, develops all the angst as a result of the separation between our subjective ego selves and the world around us.
When does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made. It's simply transferred from one perception to another, like magic. This painting here, I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600. The illusion has become real, and the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it. Capitalism at its finest.
How much is enough, Gordon?
The richest 1% of this country owns half our country.
With this increasing fragmentation of the individual and technological progress, the rational conquest of nature that has assumed irrational proportions in our world, we begin to realize how meaning and our culture contribute to the addictions and unhealthy lifestyles that afflict individuals, organizations, and the planet. At the close of the 19th century, with people like Muybridge, Cezanne, Monet, a new appreciation of space and time begins to occur. In this example by Monet, the mirror shows the whole interior of the nightclub, but deprives it of three-dimensionality by showing, for example, the barmaid's reflection off to one side, which is an impossibility. The integral structure, our future. The 20th century begins with Einstein's overturning of two of the foundations of the old physics. Special relativity led physics to abandon forever the notion of absolute space and time. Einstein showed that the laws of motion can be defined only by reference to an observer and his physical conditions. Thus, the conscious observer becomes an essential participant. At the same time, Picasso invents a revolutionary new art form, Cubism. Cubism embodies the first new way to perceive space since Euclid formalized the system 2,300 years earlier. The only place in the universe from which an observer could actually see the ideas within a cubist painting would be from astride a beam of light. This aperspectival worldview is necessary if we are to look at the world and see it whole, and includes this new meta-sense of space-time freedom. Whereas the understanding of the mental structure depends on the concretion of space, our epoch is concerned with the concretion of time. Only where time emerges as pure present and is no longer divided into its three phases of past, present, and future is it concrete. In summary, Montreux has two principal beliefs. One, that an understanding of the meta-story provides the new context and meaning for medicine. And 2, the emerging interactive multimedia telecomputer will be the principal medium for the delivery of this knowledge. By returning to the very sources of human development, as we observe all of the structures of consciousness, and moving from there toward our present day, we gain a view into the future, which reveals the traits of a new reality amidst the decline of our age. This information technology will be the main agent for social and cultural transformation. The individual end user through the telecomputer creates this new information culture, with lifelong learning becoming the major driving force of our global community in the next millennium. This is the connecting link in networking society with nature in the emerging ecozoic age. The multimedia telecomputer is ideally suited to evoke the sense organ in each of our co-present structures and will facilitate the understanding of the meta-story and the integration of consciousness. It is Montreux's belief that the essential traits of a new beginning and a new reality are discernible in all forms of contemporary expression, whether in science or art, health or psychology, education or religion. Moreover, we are in a position to define this new reality in such a way as to emphasize one of its most significant elements: the recognition that man's coming to awareness is inseparably bound to his consciousness of time and space.